Hey guys, Smo Trapper again. I wanted to do a quick video about um, trapping systems, I guess is the best term. And so, because I don't even really understand the term, I guess I need to explain what I'm talking about. Um, so, first of all, there are two things that every trapper agrees on. Okay. Those two things are like the golden rules of trapping, right? So one is location. You have to set on location. You're never going to catch an animal if you don't have any animals in the area, right? So you have to set where the animals are. So you have to set on location. Number two is bedding the trap solid. Okay. The trap can't move when the animal steps on a lever or a jaw, because if it does, they're either going to, get skittish and move away, like a coyote probably will typically do, or they're going to dig at it, like a coon will probably do. So those two things are like the golden rules, right? You can't not do those things and be successful. You have to set on location, and you have to bed the trap solidly. Once you get past that, however, there are wild variations in what people like or do. There are guys who like big traps. There are guys who like small traps. There are guys who do guys and gals who like expanded pans, and there are folks who don't like expanded pans. Um, you know, flat sets, trench sets, dirt hole sets, compass sets, punch holes, mouse holes. Um, use urine, don't use urine. Use bait, don't use bait. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So there's a huge amount of variation, and I'm not talking about just variation from everybody who's out there trapping. I'm talking about variation and people who have hundreds and hundreds of coyotes caught. I mean, people that have been doing it for decades and have caught tremendous amounts of animals. They do things differently. Okay, so if you watch a Clint Locklear video, and then you watch a Mark June video, and then you watch an Andy Weiser video, and then you watch a Charlie Mashek video, you're going to get different things out of all those, right? They do things a little bit differently. They use different traps. They use different methods to keep the dirt from getting under the pan, whether it's polyfill or a wire screen pan cover or whatever they're using. A lot of people are using wax paper, coffee filters. I mean, you name it. There's somebody using it. If you can think of it, there's somebody using it as a pan cover. They freeze proof their sets differently. Some people don't really need to freeze proof their sets because they're trapping in areas that don't freeze, you know what I mean? Way down south, things like that. So, um, those are the things that I'm talking about when I'm talking about a system, right? And those are the things where all the variation comes in. And I think that what may help, it would have helped me if I had known this a little bit earlier or thought of this a little bit earlier, or if somebody had said this in a video, and I would have thought about it a little bit. What may help you whenever you're out there gathering all this information, because what I did is I watched, Mark June videos and Clint Locklear videos and Coon Creek Outdoors and Who's Your Trapper, and with Charlie, and went on trapperman.com, and I went all over YouTube looking at all kinds of different things, and I had all this information. I got a book by Dobbins. I got several books. I got a book by Katz, one of the Katz brothers, Kellen Katz, I think. So I had all this information, and I saw all these people doing these different things. And what I did was pick and choose different things, right? So I saw the way one guy did, kept the dirt out from under his pan, and I liked that, so I took that. But this other trap that this other guy used, I liked that trap better than the trap this guy was using, so I picked that trap. And then the freeze proofing, with somebody else. And maybe it was only one part of the way that guy was freeze proofing, and another part of the way another guy was freeze proofing. And the sets, I took this part from this guy and this part from this guy, and just kind of mixed it all together and took just, I cherry picked what I thought was the coolest and neatest and best way to do everything. And I think what happens when you do that is if you sit down and really think about it, okay, if you're watching a Mark June video, for example, Mark June has caught thousands of coyotes, okay? Everything that he does, from the trap he uses to the way that he keeps dirt from going under the pan, from the way that he freeze proofs his sets to the sets that he uses, everything that he shows you on that video has, you know, thousands of hours and thousands of coyotes and years of experience behind it. So everything he does is for a reason, right? Same thing with Clint Locklear. Same thing with Lee Roussat. Same thing with Kendall Obermeyer. Same thing with any of the other big name guys that you've ever heard of. They all have a system, and that consists of what trap they use, how they stake that trap, how they keep dirt from going under that pan, you know, the way that they dig their trap beds. All of it comes into play, right? And all of it works together. And they've done it over and over and over. They've got tons and tons of experience, and they have probably tried other ways of doing it. They've probably tried different screen pan covers. They probably tried different traps. They probably tried different freeze proofing methods. And for whatever reason, they've distilled it all down to what really works well. And most of the time, those guys are really fast and really efficient at getting sets in the ground. So if you pick and choose little pieces of all those things and mesh them all together, you may be affecting the way that those things interact with each other and not even realizing it. Okay. So, and I know that I did that my first year trapping. I know I cherry picked and I put things together that don't work well together. And I didn't know. I didn't know any better because I didn't have the experience, right? So, my advice to new trappers, you know, first year, second year, just getting started, is go out and watch as many DVDs as you want. You know what I mean? I'm not discouraging anybody from gaining a lot of information. You know what I mean? You should look at every source you can get. But at the end of the day, again, this is my advice. At the end of the day, I would pick a big name trapper. You know, get a DVD from a good trapper, somebody that you trust, somebody that you know that has, you know, put up a bunch of numbers, so you know what they're doing is effective. I would find one of those guys who traps in an environment that is similar to yours, okay? Because, you know, I just got Andy Weiser's video. It's a great video. He's trapping in Montana, and he's going, you know, around and picking up this duff, these big, long, you know, beautiful, dry, you know, duff that he's got all over the ground underneath all the mesquite trees or whatever's out there, you know what I mean? And he's just blending his sets in perfect. And it looks great, but I can't do that here, okay? I'm in southeast or southwest Missouri. We don't have that kind of duff. It just doesn't exist. It's all wet. You know, I could cover them with leaves, but that's about it, right? So we don't have the same stuff. We don't have the same type of ground. We don't have the same type of travel routes. You know, I'm in hills and rocks, and he's in, you know, flat plain for the most part and he's, you know, he's really concentrating on tanks, on water. Well, there's water everywhere here. So water's not as big a draw for an animal to me as it is to him. So find somebody who's trapping in an environment that's similar to yours and just do everything they do. I mean, honestly, that's what I would do. If I was starting over today, I would pick somebody who's got a video that shows terrain that's similar to mine, and I would use the trap they use, I would use the pan cover they use, I would use the freeze proofing method that they use, I would just use all of it. I would just blatantly copy and steal all that information, because all that information has been hard earned over many years. And I would just do what they do. I would just copy them, right? Because I think that's going to shorten your timeline to success, because all those things are proven to work together. And, you know, it's just going to make it much easier, and you're not going to be fighting yourself with these interactions between different aspects of the system that you don't really even understand yet. So again, my advice, pick somebody who traps in similar ground to yours and just copy them. Just copy them for the first season. I think you're going to have success a lot faster that way. And once you start having success, it's going to be easier to tweak and modify, and you can play with stuff and have fun with it after that. But if you're fighting with yourself, if your system doesn't work together well, because you've cherry picked it from a bunch of different people and are trying to mesh things together that don't work well together. You're going to get frustrated, and that's going to lead to, you know, just disappointment and frustration, and it's not going to be very fun. Whereas if you take a time tested thing and just implement it, right? Because they're showing you everything you need to know. You just implement that system that's already in place. You just put it into practice. I think you're going to shorten your, you know, your timeline to success, and at that point you can start to play. But that's just my advice. You know what I mean? Take it or leave it. But I think you're going to have a better time, especially first couple of seasons, if you just copy something that's already proven to work. You know what I mean? Rather than trying to mix a bunch of stuff together and come up with your own thing. So, anyway, that's my advice. If you like these videos, like and subscribe. I appreciate everybody watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.